I thought getting away would help me heal. After the funeral, I couldn't stand the sympathetic looks, the casserole dishes, the silence at home that now screamed in my ears. So I drove upstate, to a cabin deep in the woods, Mom's favorite place when she needed solitude. It was an old family property, barely used, half-eaten by moss and time. No internet. No cell reception. No neighbors for miles. Perfect. The sky was already bruised purple when I arrived. Thunder mumbled in the distance, and the air felt wet, heavy, like it was holding its breath. I parked the car, dragged my duffel bag inside, and lit the fireplace. The wind whistled through the chimney like something whispering down from the trees. I unpacked slowly, mechanically, trying not to look at the corner where her old wool blanket still sat. I made a simple dinner, canned soup and crackers, and tried not to think. By nightfall, the storm broke loose like a monster kicking through the clouds. Rain slammed the windows. Lightning flickered like a dying light bulb. I laid in bed, the mattress sagging under me, hands folded across my chest like I was in a casket. My thoughts drifted to Mom, her laugh, her way of humming while she cooked. I missed her so damn much. That's when I heard it. A knock. I froze, straining to hear it again. Maybe it was just a tree branch, I told myself. The wind. The storm. But then it came again, louder. Not a knock this time. A pounding. A fist. Then another. Desperate. Panicked. I swung my legs off the bed, the floor cold beneath my feet. Every cell in my body screamed at me to stay put. But curiosity, or maybe concern, got the better of me. I grabbed the flashlight and crept to the door. I opened it. A man stood there, soaked to the bone, his hair plastered to his face, his chest heaving. His white shirt was torn, stained with blood. Not a little. A lot. Please, he gasped. My wife, she's hurt. Car crash near the creek. She's unconscious. Yours was the only place with lights. I didn't think. I didn't ask questions. I just nodded, grabbed my coat, and followed him into the night. The rain stung like needles as we ran through the woods, my flashlight slicing the darkness in shaky arcs. He kept glancing back to make sure I was behind him, muttering, "This way, just a bit further," like he was trying to convince himself as much as me. Finally, we reached the crash site. The car was half submerged in a ditch beside the creek, its front end crumpled around a tree. Steam hissed from the hood. One of the headlights flickered weakly, casting ghostly shadows through the trees. I saw her in the passenger seat, slumped, unmoving, her forehead dark with blood. We yanked open the door and I cradled her limp body as we carried her back, her soaked dress clinging to her skin like it was trying to keep her warm. I didn't speak. Neither did he. The only sounds were the wind, the rain, and our heavy breathing. Back at the cabin, I laid her on my bed and grabbed the first aid kit. My hands trembled as I cleaned the wound on her temple and wrapped it with gauze. She didn't stir. Her skin felt cold. The man peeled off his wet clothes and changed into a dry flannel and sweatpants I offered. The fire crackled behind us as I poured 2 glasses of wine, more for my nerves than anything else. He stared into the glass like it held some answer. How did it happen? I asked finally. We were visiting her parents. Roads got slick. Lost control on a curve. His voice was calm. Too calm. He didn't ask about her. Didn't sit by her side. Just sipped the wine like it was any other rainy evening. Then I noticed something strange. He said they'd been driving to her parents'. But later, he mentioned coming back from a friend's wedding. He called her Anna at first. Then Lisa. His eyes darted when I asked where they were from, like he was trying to remember something he'd never really known. Trauma, I told myself. Shock. But my gut twisted tighter with every word he said. Eventually, he stood and said, "I need to rest," like he owned the place. He walked into the bedroom, my bedroom, and shut the door, leaving me alone in the firelight. I locked the front door, sat on the couch, and stared at the flames. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Soft. Wet. Right above me. I opened my eyes, and there she was. The woman. Standing over me, eyes wide, lips trembling, skin pale as moonlight. Her damp hair clung to her face. I opened my mouth to scream. She clapped her hand over it. "Please don't," she whispered. "Please, don't scream." Her hand trembled against my mouth, her breath warm and panicked on my cheek. We stared at each other, both frozen in time, both drenched in fear. Slowly, I nodded to show I wouldn't scream. Only then did she let go. "I'm sorry," she whispered, glancing toward the bedroom. "But he's not my husband." I blinked, my brain struggling to register the words. "What?" "He's not my husband," she repeated, firmer now. He took me." She staggered a step backward, gripping the arm of the couch to steady herself. I sat up, adrenaline flooding my system. "Who is he?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "I don't know his name. He ran me off the road. Dragged me out of my car. I must have blacked out. When I woke up, I was in that crash, bleeding, and he kept calling me Anna. That's not my name." My blood went cold. "I played along," she said, voice cracking. "I thought maybe I could survive it. But he kept talking to me like we were married. Telling me about our life together, about our house in Vermont. I don't even know him." I was already on my feet, heart pounding like a war drum. "We need to call the police." "No signal," she said immediately. "I checked while you were tending my head. I grabbed my phone anyway, still no bars. The storm must have knocked something out." "We have to leave," I said. "Now." She nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "He has a knife. In his coat." My stomach lurched. My car keys were in the bedroom. "With him." "I'll get them," I said, though every part of me screamed to run. "You wait here." I crept toward the bedroom door, my ears straining. I could hear his slow, steady breathing through the thin wood. I turned the knob gently and pushed it open just a sliver. He lay on the bed, facing away, one arm dangling off the side. My keys glinted on the nightstand, just beyond his reach. I held my breath and stepped in. The floor creaked under my foot. I froze. He groaned, shifted, then settled again. Step by step, I moved forward, every nerve alight. I reached the nightstand, hands stretching. Then he rolled over. My heart slammed against my ribs as I ducked down, hiding behind the edge of the bed, clutching the keys in a white-knuckled grip. Silence. Then, a snore. I stood slowly, tiptoed backward, and slipped out the door, gently clicking it shut behind me. She was waiting by the front door, her eyes wide and wild. "Go," I whispered, unlocking it. "Now." We burst out into the rain, sprinting through the dark, down the winding path to the car. I didn't even feel the rain anymore. All I felt was the cold breath of death right behind us. We burst into the car like hunted animals, soaking wet and shaking. I fumbled with the keys, nearly dropping them in my panic. She watched the cabin with wide, terrified eyes, her breath fogging up the glass. "Please," she whispered. "Drive." The engine sputtered, then roared to life. I floored the gas pedal and didn't look back. The cabin disappeared behind us into the veil of rain and trees. The storm was still raging, but it felt nothing compared to the storm inside my chest. She cried quietly beside me. I kept glancing at her, expecting her to vanish, expecting this whole thing to be some terrible hallucination. But she was real. The fear in her eyes was real. The blood on her head, dried and cracked, was real. The winding forest road felt endless, but finally we saw it, a flickering red and blue glow ahead. The police station. I pulled into the lot, tires screeching. The moment I opened the door, 2 officers stepped out, hands near their holsters. We must have looked like ghosts. "She's not his wife," I shouted as we rushed toward them. "He's not who he says he is." They pulled her aside gently, guiding her inside. I followed, breathless. She collapsed into a chair as they handed her a blanket. One officer radioed for backup while another listened to her, really listened, as she told them everything. She gave them her real name. Her real life. The horror that had just unfolded. When she was done, she looked at me with eyes full of gratitude and exhaustion. "You saved me," she whispered. I couldn't respond. I still didn't believe it myself. Minutes later, another officer, an older man with a worn badge and a heavy voice, sat me down. "We ran a facial recognition check from your description," he said grimly. "The man you let into your home, we believe it was Robert Walsh." "Who is he?" I asked. The officer looked me square in the eye. "A convicted stalker. Escaped 2 weeks ago from a transport van. Slipped into the woods during a fuel stop. He's been missing ever since. He had a history of obsessing over women he barely knew. Sometimes pretending to be their husband." The words hit me like a bullet. I couldn't breathe. "You're lucky," he added. "If that girl hadn't warned you." He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Later that night, they sent officers to the cabin. He was gone. No footprints. No struggle. Just the broken wine glass, the blood-stained sheets, and the knife. Still in the coat. We were alive. But I didn't feel alive. I still don't. Sometimes, late at night, I hear that knock again, in my dreams. And I wake up, soaked in sweat, heart hammering. Not because of what happened. But because I remember something. When I locked the door behind us. I don't think I heard it click.